trouble on the field on Saturday for the offense. At least the defense looked strong, but also a couple of revelations from that. Plenty to cover today. I'm happy to get into it.
We have a lot to cover here today on today's edition of the program here, William. So appreciate you being here. You'll be here on Mondays here this fall, in addition to you being on overtime 6 to 8 Monday through Friday. So make sure folks stick around for that here on your afternoon drive home Monday through Friday right here on Fox Sports Knoxville 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run radio app. We're also live on Fan Run Sports, our YouTube channel. So make sure if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe as we continue to grow more and more each and every day there. So we're streaming. Join the chat on our YouTube stream. You can also listen anywhere, whenever on that free Fan Run Radio app. So make sure you download that if you're not already. So all kinds of different ways you can be a part of the chase right here on a Monday. You can also call or text us at 865. 865. Wow, why am I blanking on this?
865. I'm like, I'm
going through the whole thing, and I'm like, what? 966-3435.
Yeah, there we go. 865 is the area code. I was like, oh, hold on.
It's been a long weekend here.
Yeah.
I just completely spaced. 865-966-3435 is the way to call or text us. 865-966-3435 is the way to jump in here today. We have a jam-packed show for you guys. Full house. Jay King back in here behind the One Stews. Jay, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I had a great weekend at Dollywood. I was there Saturday, and then I also got to see Cam Ward play football. So pretty good Saturday.
Did you do any rides at Dollywood?
Yeah, my favorite one is either the Wild Eagle or the Lightning Rod. I was a big fan of those two rides that I've been to. The one ride I will never do again is that 200-foot drop tower.
That one's scary, man.
I am never doing that again.
I'm not a roller coaster guy. I don't know if you are, William, but that is not my deal, especially at this point in my life. My wife did it, and it's just still just one of those where it's bad for your back. It's bad for your body. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
I've retired from roller coasters. Not that I was ever a big roller coaster guy, but absolutely not at this point.
I've got an interesting story. I'll make it quick. It ties in Dollywood and, roller coasters. I, growing up, was not a roller coaster guy. Like, they always scared me. I was like, I'm not doing this. And a couple of years ago, it was my friend's 21st, and he was like, we're in Knoxville. It's the summer. Let's go do something. Let's go to Dollywood. And I was like, all right, but, I'm probably not going to do all the rides. And he was like, okay, yeah. And we started off with Blazing Fury, and I think that's the one inside. It's like that fire train or, a fire truck one inside.
I wasn't able to do that one.
And then the second one we did was Tennessee Tornado, but he didn't tell me what we were about to do, and we just walked on there. And we get locked in, and I start looking at the track. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is way above my pay grade. So we did that, and after we did that, I was like, okay, that wasn't that bad. And I ended up doing every single one of them. So now I love roller coasters. Long story short, went to Dollywood one time. Now I love them.
I was the exact same way. Basically, how you get over your fears, your friend has to force you to get on a ride. And once you do it, you do it.
One of the scariest things, though, is looking at the stats of the ride, like when you're walking in, of like how fast it goes, how big the drop is. So I try to avoid looking at that stuff, and I just would go on blindly and experience it. But I think my favorite was Thunderhead, the wooden one. Thunderhead's a lot of fun.
That one's kind of my least favorite because of how shaky it is. I don't know.
We did that like 5 or 6 times. I loved it.
Wow.
But Wild Eagle's fun too.
Yeah, Wild Eagle's a blast.
I'm a Dragon Flyer type of guy.
Hey, the Dragon Flyer's not that bad.
Dude, Dragon Flyer, that was it. That was the one I did with my parents a couple of years ago. Went down, and I was like, they got me to do one roller coaster. I did Dragon Flyer. And I was still just like, that's enough excitement for me. I'm good. It's tapping
faster
out.
than you think, I will say.
I'm like a Tennessee running back, 7 plays into a drive, just tapping the helmet where it's like, I'm out. Also here, Matt Bailey producing here on a Monday. Matt, how was your weekend, sir?
It was pretty good. Just still settling into my new place, and it wasn't too bad. It was a pretty lazy weekend for me, honestly.
There you go. Well, it was hot again this weekend, so you just didn't really want to do a whole lot outside. We got the fake fall last week, and now it's back to just blazing conditions here in East Tennessee. But we also got a fall camp scrimmage, our first scrimmage this fall season for Tennessee football. Another scrimmage this Friday that we'll react to going into next week as well as we get closer and closer to game week prep, because we got 2 weeks to go before Tennessee is all systems go, getting ready for Syracuse and going down to Mercedes-Benz Stadium to take on the Irishmen. We also got an AP Top 25 poll released for the first time this season, so we'll get into that In hour number 2, we're going to talk about Chris Brazel II being back at practice this week. Most interesting nugget coming out of this first scrimmage in our estimation. We'll talk about that. Grizzlies guys segment here, as we do every Monday with William Pattison. We'll talk about one major trade you would love to see the Memphis Grizzlies pull off this offseason. We'll talk about the pros and cons of rolling with George McIntyre at some point this season and what that would mean for the 2026 quarterback room and beyond. And then John Gruden wants to coach in the SEC and college football as a whole. We'll talk about where he might potentially land here in 2026, how realistic that is with groomers being back here in August of 2025. But we have a jam-packed show for you guys today. Thank you for making the Chase part of your daily listen right here on Fox Sports Knoxville and Fan Run Sports Radio 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. You can also call us at 865-966-3435 to jump in today with us. 865-966-3435 is the way to do so. So the most interesting nugget to you, William, coming out of this first scrimmage that you heard or read over the weekend was what?
Well, the defense looked really strong. That was one of the big takeaways. The defense did their part. They made life really difficult on all the quarterbacks that are going through this competition right now. There was a pick six. There were some good stops defensively from the defensive front, good pressure. So that's a good thing. But I think my overarching takeaway is that we might very well soon have a quarterback decision. And from talking to people this weekend, it seems to be right now that Joey Aguilar will be the starter for Tennessee this upcoming year. We'll talk more about it on overtime as well. But I feel like Jake Merklinger had a strong start to camp, but over the last couple of weeks and last couple of days, his accuracy has continued to be an issue. A lot of people have said positive things about George McIntyre, but I don't think he's a guy ready to go at his current frame and weight. So it seems like right now the quarterback competition is going to be more so who's that two? Will it be Jake or George? And I think that's one of the big takeaways coming from this scrimmage. Obviously, none of the guys were particularly impressive, as Joey's the guy that threw the pick six. But I feel like right now it is trending in the direction where Joey Aguilar will be the starter. Outside of that revelation, the running backs was another positive thing. The running backs look strong. All of the guys, Dar Thomas, Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, I think kind of reaffirming what many people around Tennessee thought this running back room would be. Very talented, very deep. Any of these guys could quote unquote start, but Josh Heupel's always used, 1, 2, 3 running backs a season. So just hearing that all these guys are looking impressive, I think is beneficial. So positive defense in the running back room, and then what you make of the quarterback situation. Joey Aguilar seems to be the starter.
Yeah, and that's what we always expected, right? Like, it was an outside chance that they would go with a 19-year-old, potentially, and Jake Merklinger. Remember, he is still a redshirt freshman, not any real reps at the FBS level, especially not the SEC level. Joey Aguilar's 24. That was Hendon Hooker's age going into year 2 at Tennessee. Like, that is a gigantic age gap between 24 and 19. And it's one of those things where I understand why Heupel is ultimately going to lean on Aguilar out of the gate, but I think based on what we're hearing and seeing about Tennessee's fall camp to this point, it's not something where Joey Aguilar has ran with this job. And I kind of wonder if Joey Aguilar was also 19 years old, where they would go. If Joey Aguilar had performed the same way he did here throughout fall camp, and he was also the same age as Jake Merklinger, where does Heupel go? We'll never know, but it's the experience. You try at least the experience to make sure, because ultimately Heupel isn't a year-to-year type deal. Like, his job is to win as many football games this year as humanly possible. And the best way to do that traditionally in college football is to play the oldest quarterback possible. Because if y'all recall, who were the 2 starting quarterbacks in the national championship game this past year? Will Howard and Riley Leonard. Those were 2 old veteran quarterbacks. Yeah. That's generally speaking who wins. It's really hard for the J.J. McCarthy's, those young guys, to guide their team, especially in the 12 to maybe even eventually 16-team playoff format, for young quarterbacks to be able to lead their team for that extended period of time and get them to where they ultimately want to go. So I think you could always go to Jake or George later this year. If things do go awry with Joey Aguilar early, let's say, the Georgia game in week 3 just completely unravels, multiple pick sixes. It's just a really rough showing. You can still potentially, you have a great bye week in between Mississippi State on the road and Arkansas at home. I could see that being a potential opportunity to change gears. You can always, you don't have to play Joey the whole year. It's not one of those situations where he came in to play, like there's an expectation that you roll with Joey no matter what. If things don't go well there, you can always pivot. And Jake and Joey and George need to stay ready because that is a real possibility with just the timeline, because Joey has not been able to work. I mean, no Brazel or Staley here on Saturday for this first scrimmage. We'll see who plays in the Friday scrimmage between the receivers, but guys have been in and out of that lineup, and you just don't even, like, how are you supposed to build any kind of timing and chemistry with these guys as you're going through a quarterback battle? It's just it's kind of the worst of both worlds instead of like the best of both worlds in terms of just not having your receivers right. And then also just having 3 quarterbacks realistically pretty close. It's just the age part of it probably separates it in the experience, but it doesn't feel like it's an exciting situation of Joey has just won this job. It's a lot of fun. We're excited as a 1-year transfer big win. There's no Dalton Connect, Andrew Fisher, like 1-year buzz where we're excited for this 1-year jump and he's going to be rocking it for his 1 year on Rocky Top. It's like in very much wait and see. He's just older and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think it's always tough going into a quarterback competition, especially for like a guy like Merklinger who, Nico Iamaleava leaves and Jake's like, okay, this is probably my job now. And Tennessee goes out in the portal, adds a veteran guy. And I think you had to do that. Just to have a little bit of maybe kind of a life preserver if Jake wasn't the guy fit to be the quarterback to start the season. And Joey ends up being that experienced veteran quarterback that's entering his 5th year of college football, was ruled eligible in that same Diego Pavia ruling. And he's played, Power 4 teams before, played at Clemson, played at North Carolina. He's got experience. And I keep on going back to when Appalachian State played James Madison. In that game, in a sense, like that was a big-time game for Appalachian State in their standards. And that was a nationally broadcasted game. That was on College Game Day. That was everything. And that was one of Joey's best games of his career. So he's already proven that in a big game, at least in Appalachian State's standard, he can live up to the expectations. I think he had 300-some yards, 3 touchdowns, and completed around 68% of his passes in that game. So can you do that now at Tennessee with a SEC level recruiting cycle, an SEC level coaching staff, SEC level fan base and funding? Can he match at least a little bit of that production now on the bigger stage in his 5th year of college football? I think it's the most safe bet. George McIntyre could be a guy that down the road becomes a big time player for Tennessee and possible starter. But right now it just looks like a high schooler to me. And that's not a guy that I'm comfortable throwing out against Georgia, where those guys will sit on him and possibly break all of his bones. And then for Merklinger, as you mentioned, redshirt freshman, still has a lot of room to grow. I'm not ruling him out, long-term for Tennessee. Now it's going to be tough for him to stick around with the upcoming class of Faison Brandon, but you never know what can happen during the course of a season. Joey might start the year for the Volunteers, but that doesn't mean he's going to finish it. And you could have the opportunity to see Jake or George potentially starting at as the season goes on. So you've got to stay ready. It's tough, but you've got to keep the mindset of I've just got to play the course of the season.
Absolutely. We'll continue the George McIntyre QB1 conversation here when we come back. Stick with us. It's The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
For the fans, by the fans. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Hello, is Tina there?
Who's this?
Yeah, this is Vince from the hit reality show Wives Don't Tell. Tina applied for our show to confess that her husband won't go to the doctor to get his erectile dysfunction checked. She said she's ready for a guy that can bring the heat.
All right, what the hell is going on? You're talking to her husband right now? Tina!
Well, She wrote the application that Man's performance is questionable. She's basically married to a coffee table. She also said, we live within driving distance to Men's Pro Knoxville, but he's too scared to get a blood test.
Oh my, she is done. She is so done.
Gotcha, Mike. It's Nephew Tommy. Ain't no reality show. It's a prank. Men's Pro Knoxville is the real deal, fellas. Local experts, test results in minutes. Call 865-544-8220 or hit menspronknoxville.com before your lady books a new co-star. Men's Pro Knoxville, making it happen.
Got a flat tire? Strange noise under the hood? Don't stress. Roll into Matlock Tire and Auto Service. From oil changes and brake repairs to brand new tires, Matlock's certified techs do it all. Fast, friendly, and fair priced, Matlock is the home of the price match guarantee. Bring in any competitor's ad and Matlock will match the exact same tire for the exact same price. Matlock Tire and Auto Service. 5 locations in East Tennessee. Visit MatlockTireService.com to find the location nearest you and schedule your appointment.
Yeehaw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine, live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today. Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-8899-789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
Are you looking for a treat that will knock it out of the park at the next watch party? Just like your favorite baseball team, Crumble brings the best lineup week to week with an expanded roster that includes key lime pie, strawberry cake, or my personal favorite, Monster featuring M&M candies. Let Crumble treat you to the best cookies in the game. Download the Crumble app and start earning rewards. You can even vote monthly on what flavors you would like to see at any store of your choice. Warmer weather is here, so get to the ballpark, but don't miss the cookies.
Ready to launch your career? Axle Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axle proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axle, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axle Logistics is the place to start your career.
Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. It's a Monday, so you know what that means. Overtime Zone, William Pattison in studio with us every Monday right here on The Chase. Only two more episodes, William, before we get to do rapid reactions of the weekend because Tennessee will be playing football here on August 30th, and we'll have week 0 stuff to react to here in a couple weeks as well with the Ireland game between Kansas State and Iowa State, which is going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. But as we continue on here, we have 19 days until the start of the season, but we also talked about here at the top of hour number 1, just where things stand in terms of the quarterback battle. It's so interesting because it's a complicated deal because you have to simultaneously plan for this year and put your best foot forward this year and keep the boat afloat. But you also do have to consider next year, you have to consider so many different dynamics, and there's so many different competing interests, different storylines, that now that you don't have a clean jump to 2026, right? Like Nico would have been that clean jump for Tennessee, Josh Heupel and company, where if you had him for one final year this year, you would have a clean competition between year 3, Jake Merklinger, year 2, George McIntyre, and year 1, Faison Brandon, and you'd be okay. Now, because Jake and Joey are competing, and because Jake has, he kind of has that bump, it kind of clouds, is he going to be part of the team and really want to compete for one more year if he doesn't win the job or get an opportunity this fall with Faison Brandon coming in? So that's a little bit more murky in terms of what Merklinger is going to do going to 2026. That would probably not have been a question had Nico stayed, in my estimation, right? Like that just feels like something that would not have popped up had Nico Iamaleava been around for his potential final season at Tennessee. But George McIntyre, who's kind of been the guy sandwiched and forgotten in the mix here with Faison Brandon coming in next year, is that if George is going to make a move, I feel like it has to be now, because it's kind of interesting to me in terms of where he sits in this race, because he was a 5-star at one time. He was not at the level of Faison Brandon in terms of the On3 Rivals 247 Sports rankings, but he was there, and he had that big drop for not competing, wasn't it, in the camps? He like missed the camp circuit or something.
Yeah, missed the camp, and he also committed to Tennessee, right? And that factors into it as well these days.
Exactly. And when you look at what happened there in terms of George McIntyre and where he ultimately stands and what he can ultimately be at Tennessee, he's just been kind of the forgotten guy, because Jake Merklinger has been here for a while now, and you have all this excitement about Faison next year. So if it's between redshirt freshman and freshman Faison, like you're going to go Faison probably if it's close in that QB battle next year, because you might have a DJ Lagway, true freshman guy who can just come in right away. Bryce Underwood looks like he's going to be your day one starter at Michigan. But I do think it's super fascinating in terms of what you do at GMac, because he is making the most of his opportunity clearly by not giving in this race and not being a forgotten distant third in this quarterback competition. He has an opportunity. And if Joey falters, George has seemingly put himself in a position where he might get the call. Like, it gives him time this fall to put on more weight, because he's put on a lot of weight coming in from when he arrived here in December to now. But it gives him time. He's not going to put on probably 20 to 30 pounds here in the fall football season. But could he add another 10 to 15 over the next 2 months between now and in the middle of this season? It's very possible to get to that point. And it's one thing to not expect George to be able to handle, as a true freshman, the full season of an SEC grind in terms of the physicality. But could he handle 4 to 5 weeks of it? Could he get there? It's possible, especially if the offensive line and Lance Hurd and David Sanders, by all accounts, have been great here in fall camp. Yeah. And if they're huge in terms of protecting your blind side, that's great for a true freshman quarterback if he gets that opportunity. So I do think if you roll with George, and he flashes down the stretch, that changes everything with Faison. That changes everything with Jake. You could have a completely revamped room in 2026 where it's super fascinating in terms of where things could head, because right now I look at this as 2026, probably George Faison transfer, 1-year transfer guy is the room in 2026. But again, so much can change, because we just don't know if Jake's going to get that opportunity at some point this year. We don't know how George is going to look if he does get that opportunity. But it has never been cloudier in terms of what the quarterback room is going to look like this fall and beyond.
Yeah, you had a good pun earlier. I don't even know if you noticed it, but you said it's kind of murky, you know, kind of Merklingery, you could say. But, for me, I feel like we've already seen this movie before. When Joe Milton was the starter in 2023, obviously everyone knew that Nico Iamaleava was a guy that could be the future of this team, right? And as that season kind of had its bumps and bruises, you continue to stick with Joe Milton. A lot of people called for Nico Iamaleava to start a game or to play, but you continue to roll with Milton. And when I look at this year's schedule, I think Tennessee is still going to be 8-4, 9-3, regardless of who your starter is. I think it's just how the schedule works out. Like on paper, you're going to be a better team than Syracuse and ETSU and Mississippi State and Arkansas. You're going to win those games just because you're the better team that's recruited better, has a better defense. You'll win those games. Now, the 3 or 4 that are toss-up games, I believe Tennessee is going to be in a tough spot. Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma, Alabama. But 8-4, 9-3 is to the level where you're still competitive enough to where you've got to put your best guy out there. And that's how it was in 2023, where Tennessee was a 4-loss team, but you continued to put out Joe Milton because you were in the race, in an arms race for an SEC or to climb up the rankings and make the college football playoff. Obviously, they weren't ever right there at the top like they were the year before, but they were competitive enough where you continue to roll with the best guy. So I feel like we're going to see that again this year, because unless Tennessee is like 6-6 or trending in that direction, a 7-5, I don't think there's really going to be any initiative from the coaching staff or Heupel to say, okay, let's turn to a McIntyre or a Merklinger just to see what they're about. Because if Tennessee's competitive enough, you got to put your best guy out there. So I think if Joey gets the start at the beginning of the season and he is capable enough to winning games, and you go into that Georgia game undefeated, play them close, and go into Alabama as a one-loss team, I'd be very surprised if we saw a quarterback switch. Now, if you drop a game like Arkansas, or if you drop the opener against Syracuse, and then you've got to go up against your 4 big games throughout the rest of the season, then I could see a possibility where Merklinger takes the job or McIntyre takes the job at some point. But I think it would be good, though, if McIntyre had the opportunity or Merklinger had the opportunity, so then you can get a better gauge of what you're looking at heading into the next offseason with Faison Brandon coming in. But I just look at the past track record and say, this is going to be a team that's 8-4, 9-3. We've already seen this before in 2023 with Joe Milton.
Yeah, and I think, too, what's interesting is when you think about the over-under, and I want to pose this question to you, William. Over-under 2.5 Tennessee quarterbacks start a football game in the regular season for Tennessee in 2025. And when I look at 2025 in terms of this rankings here, I tend to go under, but I still would be completely floored if they don't at least start 2. And to your point, like, one of the things that I think is interesting is the injury part of it. Like, Hendon Hooker did go down in the South Carolina game, and you had to go to Joe down the stretch. That was something that it just really sucked in the time. But 2021, Milton got hurt early in the year. So, yeah. And then you look at 24, Nico got banged up. He left the game, and gas pipe went in there against Mississippi State. And Tennessee, as my friend Matt Wyatt, former Mississippi State quarterback, told me on my podcast last week, Tennessee just ran inside zone down Mississippi State's throat, and they just couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And they have been in a situation where, hey, Nico got banged around, and Joe Milton got banged up, left the game in 2021, and never got the job back. And you saw in 2022, Joe looked great down the stretch, and we had very different expectations going into 23 because of how Joe looked down the stretch for Tennessee post Hendon Hooker injury. But that's happened 3 of the 4 years. Tennessee's starting quarterback went down. So I would be absolutely floored if we don't have at least 2 starting quarterbacks, just with the injury part of it and how much these guys need to run in the system to be effective. Joe's the only one who's been able to stay healthy over the course of a full year. And Joe is also the same frame as Cam Newton physically, with his size and weight. So I would just take a slight under at 2 starters, but 3 we haven't seen that before in the Heupel era, but we're at a point now where it wouldn't blow my mind. I just think it's very unlikely, but I think it's extremely likely we at least get 2. What do you think?
Well, maybe have to get our friends at VIP Play to set up a line for this. I would go firmly under. Joey will start the year, and you'll ride that out. And if he gets banged up or doesn't work out, I think Heupel will only turn to one guy. He's a former quarterback. He knows what it's like to be in that type of situation. And if you go back and forth between this guy starting this week, okay, he didn't play well, so now we go to another guy. You just got to stick with one guy and ride it out. And because when you make that decision of who that next guy in line will be outside of your starter, that's kind of like basing everything you've watched over the last 6 months, 9 months, whatever it may be at that point in the season, that you believe that's the best guy available. And even if he has a bad game, I think it kind of takes a little bit of his credibility away if he goes the next week and says, okay, let's try this guy. And then that tells me, okay, we have a little bit of an issue of evaluating quarterbacks. And you could go back to 2021. Joe Milton was a starter for that team. Hendon Hooker had the best season maybe in Tennessee history the prior year. And that would tell me, okay, are we actually starting the best guy available at the beginning of every year? And if Joey is the guy that ends up getting replaced, then it's like, okay, why did we not evaluate this correctly in the offseason to where this second guy that comes in is now playing and should have played at the beginning of the year? So I think it's pretty firm on the under, because I think if Aguilar does get replaced, Heupel will stick with one other guy, being a former quarterback, knowing those situations, also having a little bit of his credibility on the line in the sense of, this is why we made the decision at the beginning of the year, and this is why we're making the decision right now.
If you get to 3, I think it's injury plus benching, right?
Yeah.
That's where it is, where you bench one guy and then somebody else gets injured. That's how you get to 3.
And then you go up in the stands and say, can anyone throw a football 50 yards?
Who is the 4-string walk-on now? Because Ryan, what was it? Damron? Was that his last name? Who came in? I think he transferred. I don't even remember who the 4-string walk-on is at this point.
I hope we don't have to look that up at any point this season.
Well, the conversation last week, William, was, hey, I wonder if Dayton Sneed is regretting transferring to UNC because he might have an opportunity in this wide receiver room with how banged up they are. So
you got Mason Phillips.
There it is. Yeah.
And he's a true freshman, correct?
I believe you.
I'm pretty sure he's a true freshman. I think he was in that same class as McIntyre.
Okay.
But I think he's a local kid, though.
Yes.
I think he's around East Tennessee.
No Navy Schuler anymore.
No, he's moved on.
Mason Phillips, true freshman from Kodak.
There you go. Mason Phillips.
Right up the way.
Northview Academy quarterback, Mason Phillips. Yeah, right there off the exit when you get to where the Buc-ee's is.
Yeah. He's the smallest quarterback on the roster at 6'1".
Oh, okay. We'll see. Let's hope we don't get to that point.
Yeah,
we're going to walk-on quarterback.
If we have to bring up Mason Phillips from Kodak, Tennessee, we're probably not having a good year.
Probably not. When we come back, we'll talk with our Grizzlies guy in studio with us, William Pattison, about the biggest trade that we would like to see the Grizz pull off this offseason. What was the worst trade in Memphis Grizzlies history? And what was the best trade in Memphis Grizzlies history as we continue on our offseason coverage of the Memphis Grizzlies? Stick with us. It's The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
Catch up with all things Fan Run by subscribing to our podcast feed. Like, rate, and download the show from the Fan Run app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Knoxville. Surfside iced tea and vodka made with real brewed tea is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the Volunteer State. Smoked daily by Pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
Airlines have just reduced their prices even more. Book 30 days in advance and save big.
Want the absolute lowest prices on your airline tickets? Then call the Low Cost Airlines Travel Hotline right now. For prices so low, we can't publish them anywhere. The only way to access our low rates and save up to 70% is to call. Save hundreds on your vacation tickets by calling right now. You can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. That's 800-631-1754.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Citizens National Bank.
Life is more fun with a Good Life checking account, offering extra benefits including bank travel. Join us for a trip to Mackinac Island for a stay at the beautiful Grand Hotel. Travel with us to southern Utah to witness the enormous, colorful, and unusual rock formations. Or join us on one of our many day trips. We're always on the go.
Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Member FDIC.
It's the Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. William Pattison of Overtime from 6 to 8 in studio with us on a Monday. William, as our resident Memphis Grizzlies fan, I think you even got like a Memphis Grizzlies tag, right? If I'm not mistaken. We know when William Pattison's in the parking lot. He doesn't hide it. And you're a resident Grizzlies guy here in the state of Tennessee. So as we continue our off-season primers with you in studio, I thought it'd be fun to do a theme of like the best and worst trades in Memphis Grizzlies history, but also diving into if you could do one move that's realistic this summer before the season starts for Memphis based on where they're at roster-wise and actually does work within the cap when you try it on NBA Trade Machine and this, that, and the other. What is the trade for you that you would love to see the Memphis Grizzlies make?
Well, what's tough is I've been going after this guy for probably 3 or 4 years, and he finally got traded this offseason. Cam Johnson of the Brooklyn Nets, who was traded to Denver in exchange for Michael Porter Jr. I really like Cam Johnson because he's a 3-and-D wing that can do a lot of different things. He's a good shooter. He's already had the experience of being on an NBA Finals team before with Phoenix back in 2021. A guy that I think would really round out the starting lineup for the Grizzlies as a guy that can play really good defense alongside John Morant, but also, as we talked about last week, kind of that guy that can float around the perimeter and hit shots. Now, he got traded, so I had to go away from him. I would have loved a Dorian Finney-Smith Jr. as well and a sign-in trade potentially. So as things currently stand, there are not a lot of guys available that I would deem as valuable assets. Colin Sexton was an intriguing piece. Now, he ended up getting moved as well. I thought he could have been, an impromptu shooting guard alongside John Morant and then also play backup point guard as well, kind of split those minutes. But he got moved as well. So all my guys got moved. Instead, I'm going to give you 3 guys that I think could be traded this year by Memphis. Brandon Clark is the first one. Now, Brandon Clark was a part of that original core, and I love BC. The problem is he has been riddled by injuries in 2023, 2024, and now he's kind of lost a little bit of a step. And it's not that he's a bad player per se. He's just not a good fit because he's never developed his three-point shot. In his rookie year, he was a guy that could hit some threes, but he's never been a guy that you can continually rely on. And he's also kind of lost a little bit of a jump and spring down low. So I would look for him to possibly get moved. John Conchar, who I believe will be a really good Chipotle employee here soon, is somehow still on the Grizzlies roster this offseason.
You can't stand him. Like, you are so out on this guy. You cannot every chance you get, William Pattison is dropping absolute heat on this man.
Well, it's like, at some point, we've got to get over the gritty guy that makes the tough plays. Why are you paying this guy, that type of money to basically run around and do cardio and rely on, one
Tony
memory?
Snell made a career of it.
Oh, well, and Tony Snell is not a guy I want on my team either.
Wow, just shots fired all over the place here.
Well, like everyone is so amused by like John Conchar's block on Anthony Davis back in the 2023 NBA playoffs. And that's like one of the big moments for him that everyone always reminisces on. And I feel like, Conchar's like that white guy from Memphis that everyone knows. He's hard-nosed. Everyone likes it. I'm not a fan. Not a guy that's going to be in a championship rotation, for any team. So I feel like that's a guy you can move off of because there are some teams that have some pretty high thoughts on him. Miami's been a team that's constantly been floated around. The Brooklyn Nets as well. I'd look for Conchar to possibly get moved off. Now, this other guy, the final one I'll mention, Vince Williams Jr. Now, I think Vince could be a really solid 3-and-D guy here in the future in the NBA. But for the Grizzlies right now, you need guys that can play right away and compete for a championship. And Vince Williams had a really strong rookie showing and second year showing, but last year took a little bit of a decline and was not ready coming back from injury, and it showed. Was completely unplayable in the postseason. One of his worst games of the year was, I believe, against the Warriors in that play-in game. Just not a guy that was ready to play. And I'm not saying that he cannot be good down the road, but I'd look at him potentially being moved because you've got to kind of make a choice of G.G. Jackson or Vince Williams. And I like Jackson's offensive upside a little bit better than I do with Williams. So those would be 3 guys I'd look at. I know that wasn't necessarily answering your question of who I would go trade for. But again, all my guys got traded away, and we were just sitting there watching it happen. So now I've got to give out guys that should be moved.
Well, and the part of the problem for Memphis right now is the guys that have the most trade value, you're locked in on.
Yeah.
Like, you can't move any of those guys. So a lot of them, like Vince Williams, he's not going to get you a great return, but he could get you something. He's somebody who needs to play a lot more to garner more, but it's just kind of, I don't know where he ultimately stands. And G.G. Jackson, like you said, he might be part of the long-term core. So it seems like you still really want to see what you have there and how he fits next to John Morant for at least another full season here. And then you look at Brandon Clark. Brandon Clark is just, he's got to be what, 31, 32? He's been around for a while.
He's not that old.
Is he not?
He was drafted in 20.
It was the year Ja was drafted, I'm pretty sure.
No, Morant was already there.
So he's 28. He turns 29 this year. So he's almost 30.
Clark was 2019. Morant was 2018.
Yeah. First round, 21st overall. Yeah, I mean, he turns 29 next year. So I don't know. Brandon Clark, the injury part.
Actually, you might be right, Jay. It might be 2019. Both of them were drafted.
I remember taking.
I guess Jaren was 2018. Jaren was 2018, and Morant was 2019. But yeah, Clark actually came by way of one of my favorite trades of all time.
Which was what?
The Mike Conley trade.
Mm.
I thought the Grizzlies got a ton of value from that. And, you know, there have been a couple of bad ones, but I think my favorite in the last, 6-7 years would be the Mike Conley trade. Obviously, Conley was one of my favorite players growing up, one of the most underrated players in the NBA during my lifetime. Just a guy that always made the right play, didn't whine and complain about things, was a great character, a great guy to have in the locker room. And that's why he's one of the most well-respected and well-liked guys in the NBA. But the haul you got for him was incredible. For the short term, there's guys like Grayson Allen and Jay Crowder who were immediate impacts on those kind of younger Ja Morant teams. And then you got Adarius Baisley, who then you traded to the Thunder and got Brandon Clark from that. And then you also used that first-round pick that the Jazz gave you, which was Walker Kessler, traded that back to them. And then you were able to get Jake LaRavia and G.G. Jackson out of those 2 picks. So in terms of everything you got from that trade, that was a good haul. Good haul for Mike Conley, a guy that you just had to move off of because the timeline was off.
What do you think, Jay?
Best trade in Grizzlies history?
No, the trade that you would want to make right now. Is there one?
Can't really think of one on the top of my mind right now. Just someone who can make rebounds, pretty much. I guess I don't really watch the Grizzlies as much as William does, but from what I have seen, just someone who can make rebounds.
Yeah, they're kind of thin. They're just kind of weird because when you think Memphis Grizzlies basketball, you always just think big and offensive boards and just slow pace. And that's just not who they are anymore. And the best version of Memphis has been Jaren at the 5. Yeah. And you also kind of wonder, can Jaren be that 5? Jaren's not the rebounder. Like, that's one of the weird things about his game with his size is he's just not naturally a rebounder. And I mean, some guys are just kind of like that in the NBA where you're like, you're so big and I just don't understand why you don't grab rebounds at an elite level, but that's just how it is in some capacity. But I do think it's going to be interesting in terms of what they ultimately do, because Brandon Clark, we'll see where he fits in ultimately with the Grizzlies in this rotation this upcoming season. But I do think it's just, if you're a Grizzlies fan, they're kind of in the same zone as Atlanta, where I think this is a big year for Ja, big year for Jaren. I think this is a gigantic year for Trey with the Hawks, where, I mean, I don't think he's going to get the max that he's looking for this summer, and he's going to play it out. I mean, he has a player option after this year, so Trey could just walk, and they could do like a sign and trade type deal. And if things don't go the way the Hawks and company hope here this season, but it's a gigantic year for them. It's also a gigantic year for the Grizzlies in a lot of ways. They really need full buy-in from Ja Morant, healthy season from Jaren Jackson and company, but the ceiling's pretty high. I mean, this was a good team pre-All-Star break this past year, and you're betting on the internal promotion of the coach, and we'll see. But I mean, the West is just so crowded. The difference between Atlanta and Memphis is just the West is so stinking competitive and crowded.
A lot of good teams in the West. I mean, I think other than like the Jazz this year, you can make a realistic argument. I'd say Jazz and Trailblazers. I think they're 2 teams I would say will be exiled from any postseason contention.
I would throw Sacramento in there. Sacramento's had a terrible offseason.
Sacramento they're going to be one of those like 12, 13 seeds. Like, obviously when they stack things up, they're not as strong. But when you have Sabonis still on your roster, like you're still going to have one of the better bigs night in and night out. I do like Sabonis. I don't think he's necessarily like a championship level player, but I do think the Kings will be remotely competitive because they've drafted a couple of guys who really like, Keegan Murray being one of them. Moving off from De'Aaron Fox was tough, but a decision they had to make because he was an expensive player due for a contract extension. If they didn't see him long-term, might as well move off of him. But I mean, outside of the Jazz and Trailblazers to me are on a totally different island than like the Jazz, like than the Kings. Like the Kings might be like on the cargo ship passing by, but the Jazz and Trailblazers are drinking daiquiris and pina coladas we're nowhere near playoff contention in the West.
Pelicans, I think, will be awful. They'll be one of the worst teams.
See, Pelicans on paper,
they're going to be more healthy, I guess.
Oh, gosh. Don't mention anything about health with the Pelicans.
No.
But again, they're all going to get injured.
Zion Williamson being healthy is a fever dream. And every year, everyone's like, oh, man, hey, man, if Zion's healthy, this Pelicans team could be good. Please.
Can we also talk about just the fact that Joe Dumars is now running the Pelicans once again, and you have Scott Perry, who's just been hanging around forever. The Kings fans had, 2 years of fun with Mike Brown and Monty McNair running that competent front office and coaching staff they got 2 years after being in the doldrums for 20 years. And now it's just back to same old Kings. Kang's going to Kang. And then you have the Pelicans where it just feels like they just continually get more and more depressing. I mean, I love dealing with the Pelicans. The Hawks should keep calling New Orleans whenever they have an opportunity. Just keep calling the Pelicans like, hey, what else can we do Zion for KP here in mid-January?
Yeah.
Hey, who says no? And maybe get a first-round pick also for taking on Zion's contract. Like, it's just one of those things where it's an absolute mess. And it just feels like it's not real, but there's part of my brain, conspiracy chase of just like, was Joe Dumars and Scott Perry installed to set the groundwork for those fan bases to be like, we've had enough. It's time. You can go to Vegas and Seattle. We're done. We're done here.
I think the Pelicans are the most friendly team in the NBA. You can do some really nice deals with them. There's no issue going to play in Smoothie King Center because no one will be there. Mm-hmm. And then, you love seeing them on their schedule as well. Oh, we play the Pelicans this week. That's a positive. Oh, we have to go to Smoothie King Center. Well, let's hit Broadway or Bourbon the night before. And, we'll still show up and beat them because they've got no home court advantage.
No,
that's exactly what happened when I went to New Orleans in January. I saw that the Grizzlies were playing the Pelicans that weekend. I was ready to get tickets, and I realized it was in Memphis that weekend.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
but I was so close to going to a Grizzlies Pelicans game.
Is there any doubt that OJ Mayo for Kevin Love is the worst trade in Memphis Grizzlies history, or is there a different one for you?
I liked OJ Mayo. OJ Mayo was good. I mean, Kevin Love obviously had a longer shelf life.
He would have been perfect too in Memphis. Those early Kevin Love with his skill set and everything. I mean, he was obviously fantastic in Minnesota with his outlet passes and everything. But he would have been fantastic.
He would have been good, but you would have never had the evolution of Zach Randolph. Of what you got. And I think Randolph was more beneficial for the city than anything Kevin Love could have done. Like Zach Randolph was kind of this guy that had been casted away by a ton of major cities like New York and maybe Portland's not a big city, but Los Angeles was casted away. And he kind of embodied what Memphis was like to where a guy that had maybe been troubled in his past had been casted away by a lot of the big names, but came to Memphis and found a home and ended up being one of the most influential Grizzlies players in the franchise's history. So maybe on the surface, OJ Mayo and Kevin Love, obviously one guy had a better career, but Mayo was good during his time. Like he was no scrub. He just, got into some issues and wasn't able to be as productive as his career went on. But some of those old Grizzlies teams are fun. Rudy Gay and OJ Mayo, Mike Conley, some of those younger kind of grit and grind era teams. But then you were really able to kind of segue into the Zach Randolphs and that era, and that was really fun. If you don't mind, I do have another trade that I still do not get to this day. And it's not a huge one, but it was the start of a lot of kind of lateral moves by Zach Kleiman over the last couple of years. And it was Danny Green and David Roddy for DeAnthony Melton. And Danny Green was horrible for the Grizzlies. Ended up being an NBA on ESPN analyst the same season. And then David Roddy, I give John Conchar a lot of straight. David Roddy would be a really good general manager at McDonald's. Not a guy that really ever did anything and still has
Atlanta Hawks legend, David Roddy.
Oh, gosh. Well, he's played for 100 teams now.
First round pick, David Roddy.
And I like David Roddy out of Colorado State. Like, I liked him in college, but I was like, I don't know if this is a fit. And my biggest thing was you moved off a DeAnthony Melton, who wasn't great that prior postseason, but he was still a big part during the regular season of how deep you are, 8, 9 guys deep, 10 guys deep. And DeAnthony Melton was really beneficial. And that was kind of the start of investing in youth. And I wasn't a huge fan of. You had Jake LaRavia that year, which I like the G.G. Jackson part of that trade.
Yeah.
Jake LaRavia wasn't very good. And then you gave up a second rounder for Kenny Chandler, who didn't even finish the season out.
I'll throw one out for you. The Marcus Smart trade.
Marcus Smart, yeah, that's a good one too. Marcus Smart was a bad one looking back, but at the time it was like, wow,
I was very happy to see
two defensive player of the years on the same roster in back-to-back seasons. I liked it at the time, but he just hasn't been the same player.
Isn't it funny though too? It's like the Lakers just exceptionalism part of it, where it's just a different world where they talk about Marcus Smart, and you're like, what year is this? It's a different. Like, ask any Grizzlies fan what they thought of the Marcus Smart era in Memphis, and you're like, yeah, I mean, maybe he could help you a little bit, but I mean, he's a rotation guy. He's not the Marcus Smart defending 1 through 5 championship level player Marcus Smart anymore. Those days are gone.
Yeah, I think it's funny when some of these bigger teams add a former big name.
Yeah.
And they'll start showing highlights from like 3 or 4 years ago. And it's like, yeah, that's probably not.
Is that Eric Snow?
Yeah. You'll be watching those like, oh my gosh, is that Eric Bledsoe for the Suns playing in that game? Like, it's just like stuff like that. And then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're trolling. I don't get it.
Yeah. And then to put a bow on all of it, it is kind of funny too, where you just have to kind of look long term. But the Pau Gasol trade that was so widely panned, it obviously led to multiple titles for the Los Angeles Lakers. But it was something looking back. I mean, Marc Gasol, all-time Grizz, and you don't get Marc without that trade. And Marc turned out to be just a humongous part and long-term addition for Memphis. And I don't think a lot of Memphis fans ever thought that he would have a better career than Pau. But, I mean,
it's arguable.
He's right there, and definitely more widely beloved. Like, Marc Gasol, just that guy.
I think that's one of the best win-win trades in NBA, maybe even sports history.
They got very lucky, though. If Marc Gasol is not included in the trade, it's pretty ugly.
Marc Gasol was like the throwaway guy in that pick or in that trade.
And it worked out. He was like Nikola Jokic before Jokic in a lot of ways, where you just kind of off the grid, just big guy. You weren't sure if he was going to become a star, and you're just like, hey, we'll try. We'll see. He was one of those late round additions, and he used to throw, and it worked out.
Much better defensively. Defensive player of the year. Stole it from LeBron, but he was still defensive player of the year.
There you go. When we come back, we'll kick off hour number 2, talking about the first AP poll of the season being released. Where did the Vols fall in the top 25? Biggest surprise, biggest snub here as the Associated Press drops their first college football top 25 poll of the 2025 season. Stick with us. It's The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
Follow us on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it these days at Fox Sports Knox, Fox Sports Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
Sick of Googling the best bets for tonight and coming up short? Tap into the slate presented by VIP Play, East Tennessee's only on-air gambling show. I'm William Pattison, and every weekday from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm giving you sharp analysis, trends, and picks for college football, the NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. If it's on the books, we've got you covered. It's the slate presented by VIP Play, weekdays at 6 on Fan Run Radio.
Every 40 seconds, a child goes missing somewhere in the U.S. You can help in the effort to find missing kids simply by donating your car or boat to Find the Children, a nonprofit organization dedicated to returning missing children to their families. Find the Children works closely with national and community agencies and organizations and helps distribute flyers and posters that are directly responsible for recovering missing kids. Your car or boat donation helps protect and recover children in every state and community by sponsoring child safety and recovery programs. For fast, free pickup, call anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Running or not, your car, truck, van, RV, or boat will be towed away free of charge. Fast, free pickup, plus it's tax deductible. Everyone wins when you donate your car or boat to Find the Children.
Call right now. 800-466-8813. 800-466-8813. That's 800-466-8813.
Located in Knoxville's historic Old City, Barley's offers great food, live music, the best draft beer selection in town, and now your new favorite place to watch sports. Their indoor projector is perfect for any weather, and they've revamped their upstairs area with more TVs to take in all of the action. Their menu features hand-battered chicken tenders, juicy burgers, fresh salads, and the tastiest pizza in Knoxville. You can enjoy their happy hour drink specials daily from open until 6 p.m. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria. Blackford Veterinary Surgery Referral specializes in surgeries not regularly performed by your pet's general veterinarian. They're currently accepting referrals from vets all across the country. With their newly renovated state-of-the-art surgery center and highly trained staff, clients can rely on professional and thorough care. If your vet says that your pet needs surgery or rehab, ask for a referral to Blackford Vet and let them get your best friend back on its feet. Located conveniently in West Knoxville. For more information, visit blackfordvetsurgery.com.
Only 3 homestands remaining to see your Knoxville Smokies play this season. And this week will be full of celebrations, starting with free hot dog night on Tuesday. All the hot dogs you can eat all night long. And if you're still hungry, we've got all you can eat Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday with half off draft beers. Then on Friday, we honor one of the founding members of the Negro Southern League, the Knoxville Giants. On Saturday, we're continuing the fight against breast cancer by painting the park pink. And on Sunday is Cocoa Melon Day. Grab your tickets now at smokiesbaseball.com.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka, made with real brewed tea, is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside, or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
It's the chase. It's the chase. Live 1 to 3 Monday through Friday on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen to Chase and his friends on WKG. It's the chase. It's the Scruffy City. Listen to his friends, and his friends are on WKGN. I'm always taking your calls on the Tennessee Vols. It's the chase. It's the chase. It's the chase.
It's Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. William Pattison of Overtime from 6 to 8 right here on Fan Run Sports Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. In studio with us here on a Monday. Thanks for sticking with us as we head into hour number 2. You can watch us on Fan Run Sports on our YouTube channel, growing more and more each and every day. So make sure you want to watch this program and all of our other great shows, Talk Sports, Under Review, The Chase, The Drive, Overtime. Guess what? You can watch all 13 hours of content on our YouTube channel. So make sure you hit that thumbs up. Join the chat there as well. And also download that free Fan Run Radio app so you can listen wherever, whenever, all day long, and check back in our podcast if you missed it live. Guess what? You can listen on demand on our app as well. William, AP Top 25 poll has been released here. It's interesting that Tennessee, all the way down at number 24, they barely snuck in there in the AP Top 25. Did this surprise you to see the Vols barely make the list here as their first inaugural, I guess, AP poll this season?
Yeah, I was a tad bit surprised. In my rankings, I had Tennessee at 23, I believe. And I'm trying to pull this up real quick. But Tennessee had kind of hovered around 21, 22, 23 in a lot of these. Now, I know going one back to 24 isn't that big of a deal, but I was just surprised that you were kind of that close to the cusp and behind a team like Texas Tech that is more of a group that is ranked because they've done so well in NIL and, brought in a lot of highly touted transfers and kind of bought their team. But I do like their quarterback and Baron Morton and one of their wide receivers, CJ Douglas. But I feel like Tennessee's defense should have gotten a little bit more respect here, but I think the ranking is based off of the question marks of quarterback and receiver, which I do think is fair. And when you look at this list, you can kind of identify a couple of teams ahead of you that have more structured weapons and more structured quarterback play. So at the end of the day, it's just where you start the season. And Tennessee has gone from unranked to being one of the top teams in the nation in 2022. They were the 12th ranked team in 2023 and ended up kind of being a little bit of an afterthought It's all about how you finish the season. Rankings right now are fun to talk about, though, but I'm more interested in how you play in the middle of the year than what you look like on these preseason rankings.
Yeah, I don't think 24 is right. I think the defense in the running game is just going to be too good. I think the offensive line, too, with the tackles are going to be really solid. That I think Tennessee should be somewhere. I put them somewhere between 15 and 20 right now is probably where I would bring. There's some in here that just way too high for me that I'm looking at this. And South Carolina at 13 is way too high. They've lost a lot. I mean, I understand Lenora Sellers could be the best quarterback in the SEC. Got to see it to believe it. 13 is very, very high for the Gamecocks out of the gate here. That I think Illinois way too high at 12, where people are buying Illinois, but Iowa being unranked, where I think Iowa's just a better team right now, and Mark Gronkowski, who I'm all in on. Yes, they have to replace Caleb Johnson, but he just won FCS national champion quarterback. If Iowa has just even a fun, spicy quarterback, offensive coordinator in college football per Andy Staples a few weeks ago and Phil Parker, they have a very high floor. Iowa's a team that we've seen with Kirk Ferentz, the longest tenured FBS coach, win 10+ games with ease. Like Iowa's schedule still kind of like 9-3-ish. They got to go to Iowa State this year. I don't like their early calendar, but I'm kind of surprised that Iowa's not a preseason top 25 team, because I would take them over Iowa State. I would take them over Texas Tech. I would take them over a couple programs ahead of them. I think I'm pretty bullish on Iowa. I do like the Penn State's at least in the top 2 here, because again, when you're seeing stuff where Penn State's at like 4 or 5, I'm like, if you remove James Franklin from the equation and you just look at Penn State's coordinators and the players that they are bringing back and what it looks like, you're like, oh, if you drop that on Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, Notre Dame, you're like, oh, clearly the best team in college football.
If you switch the logo with any other team,
any other blue blood traditional powerhouse in the sport, you're like, oh, no question. The Ohio State part's so weird, because Ohio State's like 89%, I believe, in Bud Elliott's 2025 blue chip ratio. They were 90% last year and won. I just think they had terrible coordinator hires this offseason. I think the Patricia stuff is just going to be a disaster for Ohio State. He hasn't had a good offense or good defense in a decade.
Sure.
This is a big jump in look, they have the talent. I just don't see it. I don't think that marriage is going to go well. Brian Hartline's never called plays. That doesn't seem right, like something that might go well. Ryan Day might have to take that back, play calling wise, middle of the season, late in the season, whatever. And we saw that offense was not great with Kyle McCord his last year in Columbus and company. So I don't know. You lose both of your elite coordinators in one offseason, redshirt freshman potential starting quarterback in Julian Sayin. I'm selling Ohio State as a top 3 team in college football this year. And then LSU is still a little too high for me as well. 9 for LSU with all their portal jumps here. I don't know. LSU is still another team. I got to see it to believe it. Top 10. There's a lot of boomer bust. Can we see them win an opener first? They got to go to Clemson right out of the gate.
Which
here.
I've already guaranteed on overtime they will not win that game. Clemson will open the season 1-0.
Okay. What do you got?
Guaranteed.
Yeah, no, I mean, the one that caught me off guard was Florida already at 15 at the beginning of the season. Do you think they should be there?
Yes, I'm more of a believer in Florida than South Carolina and even LSU. I just think Florida's schedule just sucks. Like the part of I struggle with Florida is an 8-4, 9-3 Florida is a 10-2, 11-1 Florida with Texas's schedule. You know what I mean? So if they're able to survive and get to 9-3 or something like that, I think a 9-3 Florida team should be in the CFP over a 10-2 Big Ten SEC team, depending on who it is.
Sure.
I think Florida, if they can get to 9-3, they should be in the playoff. DJ Lagway's got to stay healthy, but they're loaded. Like they have 2 NFL first-round tackles, Barber over there on the left side. I love their receivers. I think they're going to be loaded again at the edge, and the Sapp and company. Like they have ball hawks everywhere. I think their pass rush is going to be great. I think they're going to be really strong in the trenches. I don't want to be right about Florida and Alabama. I've said that this summer, where it brings me no joy to report to Go Big Orange Country that I think Florida and Alabama are going to be really good here this season, but I think Florida and Alabama are going to be really good this season. Got to call balls and strikes, and it's just that's where I'm at. But it is kind of depressing to see Tennessee at 24 going into the start of year 5 in the hype because it's kind of a what if. Like if Nico is here, based on what you see around them, where do you think they would have slotted with Nico?
I think Tennessee would be top 15 with Nico still on the roster. But look, it's part of it. It's what you got to deal with, and you can't change anything about it now. I think 24. I had Tennessee at 23. I've got it pulled up now. I had Tennessee at 23. So 24, I don't know, seems a little bit less sexy. I don't know what it is. It's only one spot back, but 23 doesn't sound as bad as 24. 24 is like you're kind of on the chopping block. 23 is like you're kind of in it. But I think the defense should gain, a little bit more respect. But at the end of the day, where you start the year isn't a huge concern to me. It's really how you finish and how you live up to those rankings. But Chase, we see eye to eye on a lot of things. I disagree with a lot of your takes here on a couple of these teams.
Okay, go for it.
Iowa's not a top 25 team.
Hater.
We've done this over and over and over again. Defensively, yes, they are very good. And I've been impressed with some of their tapes so far through camp. Like, it looks like they might have evolved and they've got guys that can throw the football.
They're running the Shanahan offense with Tim Lester.
Until I see it, can we please stop putting Iowa in the top 25?
No.
And thankfully, the AP top 25 did not do that this year.
Hating hard here. How do you hate this?
They were better in the second half of the season offensively last year. I'll give
Yes.
them credit. But it's still, until I see it, like at some point, you are what you are. Like, if you're an injured player, you're an injured player. Like, if you're a cheater, you're a cheater. Doesn't matter what changes. If Iowa has not played good offense in years, even with Caleb Johnson last year, they were not able to. They had a better offense, but they don't have a guy like Caleb Johnson on their team this year.
I mean, they won 18 games the last 2 years. You look at
in a Big Ten that is very lopsided in terms of who's good and who's not.
3 10-win seasons since 2019.
But that's not. But the losses are the big games.
I'm just saying they are a top 25 team. Death taxes. Kirk Ferentz getting the most out of his team in 2025. I just think it's. But it's crazy when you go back through Brett Bielema, his Wisconsin teams. I mean, his last couple of years, he was still winning double-digit games at Wisconsin. Like, Brett Bielema might be able to make this thing keep humming and be sustainable. Like Luke Altmaier, someone that you and I like. But I mean, you lose your tailback to Georgia, Josh McCray. Lost a lot of receiver this cycle to the NFL too. I don't know.
That's the other one I disagree on. Illinois deserves to be a well-respected team. Luke Altmaier, an experienced quarterback, but I look at the defense. Defense is really, really strong. You get Gabe Jacas and Xavier Scott. Both those guys should have been NFL guys. They decided to come back. Xavier Scott's a 2-time All Big Ten level DB. He comes back. You've got some really, really strong linebackers and edges, both from the portal and returning. And the secondary is probably one of the best in the Big Ten. You got Xavier Scott, Miles Scott, Torrey Cox Jr., Matthew Bailey. I know you're out there, Matthew. You're out there, Matt.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Well, this is the government.
They called me
this
up.
is your government name. Matt Bailey's with us here at Fox. Matthew Bailey, his alter ego, is playing for Illinois this year. But Illinois is a top 10, a top 12 team, in my opinion. I don't have a mind with that.
So I have something to throw at you here.
Okay.
Tennessee gave up 26 touchdowns defensively last year. Really good defense. Texas gave up 27. You know who else gave up 27? Top 10, top 7. It's the Iowa Hawkeyes only gave up 27 TDs. Right there in the top 7.
Yes, but they have a good defense, Chase, but they can't score.
They're Tim Lester, year 2 in the program, former Western Michigan head coach, running the Shanny offense. Buy the stock.
They were better offensively in the second half of last season, but you had one of the best running backs in the country, and they still were clawing to be in the second, in the upper, in the, I guess, the better half of college football and offense. Well, they were 68th last year overall.
That's a huge improvement. If they could just get to, what if they get to the 40s with a top 5 defense?
With an NFL running back leaving?
Mark Gronkowski won an FCS title last year. He's the most exciting Iowa quarterback in what?
Come on. Gronkowski,
like
Drew Tate, Ricky Stanzi.
He looks
CJ Beathard.
better. He looks better, but until Iowa is able to knock off like a top tier team in the Big Ten again, I'm not buying it. Baylor should have been a team. You want to talk about teams that are not ranked that should be? The Baylor Bears are one.
Oh, you're speaking my language because Jake Spavital and Sawyer Robertson.
Robertson, I'm all in. Top 10 quarterback.
He would have been great at Tennessee for 1 year. He's got 1 year eligibility.
Yeah,
that's the one where I'm like, man.
Yeah.
Sawyer Robertson would have been a lot of fun in this system for 1 year.
Yeah, you got Sawyer Robertson, Cam Williams, wide receiver, had 10 touchdowns last year. Former walk-on doing that, by the way. They got a couple of good running backs. They just lost Pendergrass for the season, though. That was their backup. But I think Baylor's a top 25 team.
What do y'all think about Oklahoma at 18? Do y'all think properly rated, overrated, underrated there? Like, are y'all buying the John Mateer hype here?
You should.
They probably should have started unranked. They should have started unranked, but
I have Oklahoma 19.
Okay.
So they're 18 on the AP top 25. I believe in Oklahoma.
They were let out of the coaches pool. I don't think they were in their top 25 for that.
It's a big jump. So Cam Ward was playing a legitimate P5 schedule 2 years ago at Wazoo. John Mateer is playing a G5 schedule at Wazoo last season. Very different. So I think that's something that's missed here. And he was way more up and down than Cam Ward was last year. When John Mateer was bad at Wazoo last year, it was bad. And I think he's a lot more mercurial than a lot of people are giving him credit for. Where I'm just seeing, I think Josh Pate, who does a great job, had him as number 2 and in the SEC behind DJ Lagway for his top SEC quarterbacks. And I'm not there. I'm definitely not putting him ahead of Sellers or putting him ahead of Nussmeier, putting him ahead of a lot of different quarterbacks in the SEC right now. I'm not putting him over Austin Simmons. Ty Simpson, QB1 of a national champion this season.
Chase, you're losing me here, man. Ty Simpson.
Come
on, we're not doing this again.
Mac Jones. When did he do this? This has got special season written all over Alabama. Like every part about this. Year 4, his second year in the system, waited his turn. I don't like it any more than any other Tennessee fan. It's just, you need to embrace West Tennessee legend Ty Simpson is leading Alabama on a big-time special season. Like, it's time to accept it.
He's not the one leading Alabama. That's Ryan Williams, if anything.
I don't think a receiver in today's day and age is leading anybody anywhere. But
Devontae Smith led Alabama that year.
It was a lot of other pieces besides just Devontae Smith. Jalen Waddle was also making plays early on before he got injured in the Tennessee game. But that's beside the point.
For our viewing audience, I'm doing like 100 thumbnails over here.
You're apoplectic over here.
I'm just John Mateer is a hell of a lot better than Austin Simmons and much better than Ty Simpson. John Mateer last year averaged 261.6 yards per game, led the country in total touchdowns with 44. You bring in Jaden Ott at running back from California, and that's a guy that has over 3,460 yards of all-purpose yards throughout his career.
Didn't have a great year last year, though.
Deion Burks comes back, who was banged up last year, but he was a former Purdue transfer that I think is really good at wide receiver. Oklahoma's got a tough schedule, but just in terms of John Mateer is going to be a damn good quarterback. What are we basing Austin Simmons on against one drive against Georgia?
I've seen that's a big time drive. That saved the game.
Come on.
Ole Miss might not beat Georgia in that game if he doesn't keep the train on the tracks.
That was so they're two different quarterbacks. Dart was a different guy than Simmons. Simmons was a little bit more dual threat. So like for that one drive, Georgia had to adjust like their whole defensive game plan. Like you weren't expecting to see Austin Simmons in that game, right?
Yeah.
So he comes in for that one drive. And it's like the same thing with Steve Angeli. Is Steve Angeli going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the nation because he had a couple of good drives against Penn State?
No, but a little bit different. Hold on. Austin Simmons has way more upside than Steve Angeli. Not even close.
Steve Angeli was in the college football playoff.
He was fine. Steve Angeli, we'll see. We'll see him on August 30th, it looks like. The point being, I mean, when he was bad, there was some bad. I mean, 17 for 35 against Fresno and a win on the road, 48% completion percentage. You look at that game, I mean, early on, Texas Tech, 47%, 9-19, 115 yards. Against Washington, 50% completion percentage. He had some really big stink bombs against some lower-end competition. But when he's great, he is great. And I also have a worry because he is so confident with his legs. You saw Diego Pavia break down from the second half of the season on.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma maybe has the toughest schedule in college football this year. I just don't see John Mateer being able to hold up, especially with the offensive line questions, where that offensive line was horrible last year for Oklahoma. If they struggle again, John Mateer is going to, I mean, he's going to be running for his life, and he's better equipped to run for his life than Jackson Arnold a year ago. I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying the Oklahoma stuff. I think of the big three between Hugh Freeze, Brent Venables, and Billy Napier, Venables is my pick, most likely to not be back at his job going with the hot seat there.
You don't even throw Sam Pittman in that conversation?
That one feels inevitable to me. But we'll talk about why that feels inevitable in some ways here at the bottom end of hour number 2 right here. But yeah, Sam Pittman, barring a crazy Taylor Green, Renaissance, Jaden Daniels type season, I have a hard time believing Sam Pittman is back next year. But very different reason. When we come back, we'll do our fact or fiction. George McIntyre will start at least one regular season game for the Vols this season and continue the quarterback conversation right here on The Chase, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. You can join us right here. Call or text 865-966-3435 is the way to do so. 865-966-3435 is the way to do so. You can also jump in the chat. That's jumping right now on our Fan Run Sports YouTube channel, live streaming all of our shows Monday through Friday right here on Fan Run Sports Radio and Fox Sports Knoxville. You can find us and get that thumbs up and subscribe right there on Fan Run Sports, and also listen for free on that Fan Run Radio app. Make sure you download it if you have not already done so. Wilson of Overtime in studio on a Monday as we continue on the quarterback discussion here. Fact or fiction, based on what you're hearing, William, and where things are trending for Tennessee football this fall. Fact or fiction, George McIntyre will start at least one regular season game for the Vols this season.
Fiction.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that.
I think Aguilar plays the whole season, barring injury. So I guess it could be a fact if Aguilar gets hurt, but I don't think, again, as we talked about in hour number 1, we've already seen this movie before. In 2023, Joe Milton was the starter. Nico Iamaleava was the big new thing on campus. A lot of people wanted to see him get his opportunity, but Tennessee was throughout that year a competitive team with, an opportunity to possibly play for an SEC championship, an opportunity to possibly climb up the rankings. And as the season went on, you lost a couple of those big games, like a Georgia, like an Alabama, but Tennessee was never really out of contention to not compete. I feel like Tennessee will be a team that is competing throughout this year. You'll win the ones you're supposed to. You'll probably drop the ones you're not. And if that is how it sets up, Joey Aguilar will be the starter throughout the year. And the only way I see McIntyre getting any run is if he gets hurt, and that's who they decide to go with. So I'm going to say fiction right now.
Go for it, Jay.
If you think GMac is going to start a game, which game do you think it'll be?
Well, to William's point, I think it might genuinely come down to if Joey stays healthy. So it might be one of those situations where if Joey stays healthy the whole year, then you might not make that change, and you want to avoid that. I'm sure if you gave true serum to the whole staff and they're like, what is our best case scenario for this year? It's that Joey can get you to 8-4, 9-3, and he can play the whole year, and you don't have to throw any of the young guys in the mix. Again, probably not great for Jake Merklinger's long-term path at Tennessee to be QB1, but if we had to give true serum to Heupel and his staff offensively, I suspect that would be their preference, as the 24-year-old to be able to ride this thing out so they have a clean competition between George, potentially Jake, and/or transfer, and Faison Brandon in 2026. But I don't know. It's still very much up in the air, right, in terms of where they'll go. But to your question, Jay, I think the in-between, if it was based on performance alone, is the way I'm going to answer this. If it's a performance-related change, then I think it's at Mississippi State. If they lose a clunker on the road against we expect to be one of the 3 worst SEC teams on the road, and they just kind of implode offensively at Mississippi State in that environment, they have a bye before Arkansas at home.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the one I would pick. Is they're not going to throw him in against Georgia at home. I think that's just you can't do that. Even if you feel really good about him, or Joey really struggles against Syracuse and you barely escape, you still get Joey through Georgia, try him at Mississippi State, and then if the wheels fall off there, then I think you use the bye week to get George or Jake ready for a transition. That to me is the one that stands out. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the most realistic path to seeing anyone other than Joey play. It just comes down to injury. I really don't think Joey's going to per se get benched. The only way I see that is if you drop that Syracuse game and then it's like, okay, we might have whiffed on our decision here, and you make that quick decision.
Well, it also depends on how they lose. Like, what if Joey could be great in those games and they still lose? So it depends on the optics. It depends on how these games ultimately go. But again, part of what, and William, we're both big NFL guys. One of the things that I think fans are going to have to accept, and just where college football is going as a whole, is because so many guys are out for this training camp. I think you see this when you listen to different NFL analysts talk about, like, preseason games are useless. I would get them down to just 2 at this point, because so many guys, Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins, didn't play on Friday night for the Atlanta Falcons in their preseason debut against Hendon Hooker and the Detroit Lions. So if they're not even treating it as a tune-up, even if it's for a couple series, then why are you even doing this? Who is this for? The third and fourth stringers? It's like, we don't really need that. But the fact that we have all collectively as NFL fans accepted that the first 3 weeks of the regular season is really the true preseason, because that's when the rust gets taken off, I think that's what you're going to see for more and more big time college football programs with the portal, and how cautious every team is, because you don't have as much depth as you used to have at even the Power 2 level, that these guys are, and these teams are being extra cautious. So you have so many guys in and out of the lineup here in fall camp that it's not realistic to expect any kind of chemistry, any kind of great timing situation with this offense. So I think it would be a huge upset if this passing offense looks anywhere remotely what it might look like a month after Joey is working with the ones in in-game action. I just think you're going to be patient. The unfortunate part is Georgia comes in week 3, and that the timing is not great there, because I think you would need another, like if you were able to get that UAB game before Georgia and then you go into SEC play where you get basically a month of real reps with the ones to see where you're at, I think that'd be a little bit better for Tennessee. Now, I think you're, as a fan, are going to have to accept that the first month of a lot of these seasons going forward are going to be rocky, because just teams are thinner and they don't practice together as much as they used to. And teams are extra cautious, and the first couple weeks of the season are going to be like preseason rockiness. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is fair. And, it just, depends on a lot of different variables of how the season goes. I think Syracuse will learn a lot, and I think that's a good game to start off with too, because that's a Power 4 opponent that is going to be on a neutral site. So it's not like you're inside Neyland Stadium. You're going to be boosted by 100,000 people. You're going to have, maybe it'll probably be about 75% Tennessee fans. I think there'll be a good Tennessee crowd there, but that's a neutral site game where, it's kind of everything is out in the open. You can kind of figure things out and evaluate your quarterback play from there. I don't think there's any way, though, if you lose that game, that you don't start having thoughts about making it a change. Like, even if Joey, like, the way I look at it, Tennessee's defense will be good this season. I don't have a doubt about that. I think they'll be good against Syracuse. If you lose that game, it's going to be because of Joey Aguilar. That's just the mindset I'm in. I don't see there's any way that Tennessee's defense is that bad against Syracuse that has so many changes offensively this upcoming year, with a new quarterback, a new wide receiver 1, a new running back. They've got a ton of things changed. The defense for Tennessee will be good. If Tennessee loses the opener, it will be because of Joey Aguilar.
Oof.
And that's where you would then get to, okay, week 2, do we do 50-50? Does Joey get a half, and then you go to either Jake or George in the second? Like, that's where I think you might reopen this thing. Right now, Joey Aguilar will be the starter for Tennessee.
Yeah.
But if you start that game slow or don't win that game because of quarterback play, I think there'll be some real evaluations to be had.
Is there a chance we get Georgia Tech, Tennessee all over again from 2017 in the Dome? Just a high-octane offensive affair, just really just sloppy, crazy, just an all-timer banger that we're not expecting.
Well, I think that would be a bigger issue for the rest of the season, because your defense won't be as good as you anticipated.
Yes. I mean, that's also, they're replacing a lot of guys. Like, it's one of those things I wrote about this weekend over there on sportsrenaissanceman.com, is that one of the interesting things about the defensive line, and I'm not in the business of questioning Rodney Garner and Coach Chop.
Yeah.
It's a fool's errand to go down that rabbit hole. But I will say, this is an ultimate bridge year for that defensive line room, where I feel really strong. And we've talked about this, William, where I think Tennessee's building to 26 and 27. And I think 27, they are on track. If things continue to progress where I think they're going, you're probably a preseason top 5 team in 2027. Like, you're in that Clemson zone. If you press all the right buttons, retain the right guys, I think they're trending towards 27 being the year that they can win a national title. But I do think this year in particular, you have 4 leaders on that defensive line, right? Dominic Bailey, Rodney Garner was gushing about him last week in his presser. He is a 3-star strong side defensive end. Not a great pass rusher, good guy to have, but like someone you don't want, like, ultimately playing on big key pass rush downs and stuff like that. Like, he's not the guy you ultimately want. Like, he's not a Tyler Barron opposite of your Leo. And your interior, I love Bryce Neeson the person. Bryce Neeson's a good player. He's developed really well. Jackson Moy, great transfer addition, but he is not what Omar Norman Lott was in the pass rush. Like, Jackson Moy's a good player, but that's still a downgrade potentially from what you had a year ago in Omar Norman-Lott. Omar Norman-Lott was disruptive. He's a second-round pick. You had a first and second-round pick to part this defensive line. And Joshua Joseph's not being locked in the first 2 rounds right now. We'll see if he can have that final. But I mean, it's not, the sack numbers have not been there. At a certain point, you're like, it's year 4. And anyone who's expecting like a double-digit sack season or Joshua Joseph just to become this big-time sack guy, I have a hard time believing it. That doesn't mean he's not going to be an efficient player because he graded extremely well for Tennessee last year. He's a good player. He's a Swiss Army knife across the defensive line. But to me, it just feels like this whole defensive line this year in particular is a bunch of bridge guys that you feel good about, that you're like, I'm glad that my young guys are able to learn from these 4 because they all seem like great leaders, great human beings, but they're all Bs to me. Like you just have a bunch of Bs across the defensive line. But then behind them, you have all these potential A+. You have Marion Dye, you have Isaiah Campbell, you have Ethan Utley, you have David Hobbs, you have Caleb Herring, you have Jordan Ross, who might be the next James Pierce, you have Christian Guest. Like you have so many blue chip potential stars laying in the weeds for 26 and 27 that I do wonder if the pass rush is not great and they do take a step back potentially on the defensive line because they're playing the older guys a whole heck of a lot, that Tennessee's in just kind of a weird spot where the guys who are going to be big-time players for Tennessee in 26 and 27 don't get the number of reps. But Ronnie Garner still, I mean, he rotates at an extreme level, but there is a possibility because you're so young at linebacker. Again, blue chip guys that I'm very excited about for 26 and 27 that, like, I don't know. We haven't seen what this young room looks like without Keenan Peely. Like, you saw the drop-off when Keenan was there. What if Arian Carter, who led the team in tackles, gets banged up early in that Syracuse game? How ugly do things get with the front 7 because it's so new and because the defensive line is not going to be as strong with their top unit as they were the last 2 seasons? I don't know. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that is fair. I was going to pose a question to you, if you don't mind.
Yes.
You talk about some of those young, up-and-coming blue-chip prospects. Which one are you most intrigued by this upcoming season?
Jordan Ross.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and there's really not a wrong answer there.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by Isaiah Campbell. I'm really excited for Caleb Herring.
Big year for Caleb Herring because if Caleb Herring doesn't break out this year, there's just so Tennessee is what is it? I heard someone talk about like modern day recruiting is like you recruit to, it's not retain, you recruit to replace, is I believe the term. Yeah. And that's just kind of because in the transfer portal era, you just don't know. And Caleb Herring, his brother already left. He's now the starting linebacker, I believe, at Florida State this fall.
Yeah.
He's transferred a couple times, but Caleb Herring has not shown anything yet. Number 1 player in the state of Tennessee in his class. It's a huge year. Like he has the opportunity. If he's going to break out, this is the year because you've got Christian Gas coming. We'll see if Tennessee's able to flip Hezekiah Harris or Tristan Gibbons down the stretch here. I mean, there's just a lot of talent in that room, and it's a big year for Caleb Herring where if he's gonna make a move, this is the time because Jordan Ross is coming, 5-star kid out of Vestavia Hills. It's a big year for Caleb Herring and company. So I'm curious about what it looks like for him.
Yeah, I'll say I was watching the news on Friday night, and WVLT had a feature story on Caleb Herring, and he's a kind of a guy that a little bit got lost in the weeds a little bit just because you've got so many really talented defensive players. I was like, man, Caleb Herring's still on the, you know, could be a very big part of this team this year. And he looks a lot bigger. I think he's put on more muscle. And that's a guy that I think could come out of the depths a little bit and become a consistent presence for Tennessee this year. And it's tough with this defense. And it's a good problem to have, by the way, that you've got so many great guys, so many players that you can rely on, so many guys that you're looking forward to seeing this season. You kind of forget about some of these. Maybe not. Caleb Herring might not be a younger guy at this point, but like, some of these, Marion Dye and Jordan Ross, like those guys could be really, really impactful. And I think you've recruited at the level where one of those guys could be a big hit this season.
Well, and we'll go to break right after this. David Hobbs in the interior is probably the one.
Yeah.
Year 3, borderline 5-star guy. Big year for David Hobbs. And I kind of, again, it doesn't really matter who starts in running our defensive line, but if David Hobbs is playing the Omar Norman-Lott role for Tennessee on pass rush situations, I think that's a huge win for the Vols. So I'm keeping my eyes on David Hobbs as well. When we come back, we'll put a bow on hour number 2 right here on the Chase with William Pattison of Overtime from 6 to 8 right here in studio. John Gruden, is he back on the sidelines coaching potentially in the SEC? Groomers are back here across college football. Stick with us. The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka, made with real brewed tea, is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside, or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Yee-haw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine. Live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-88-99789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
Are you tired of hiding your smile because of crooked teeth? At Knoxville Smiles, we've got the perfect solution. Invisalign. No metal, no wires. Just clear, comfortable aligners that straighten your teeth without anyone noticing. Eat what you want, smile with confidence, and see results in as little as 6 months. Call us today for more information about Invisalign, 865-539-1776. Or just visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
When it's past high noon, it's time for a vodka soda made with a vodka you actually heard of. I'm talking White Claw vodka soda made with White Claw premium vodka. JB Smooth only drinks vodka soda made with the world's smoothest vodka.
And you can too. Pick you up a bottle of the triple wave filtered vodka that's been distilled 5 times. White Claw premium vodka comes in 4 flavors: black cherry, mango, pineapple, and just vodka. You haven't had vodka like this. No one has. White Claw and vodka. Please, responsibly.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the Volunteer State. Smoked daily by pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
Of an FM 1340 AM and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. William Pattison of Overtime 6 to 8 right here on Fan Run Radio Monday through Friday in studio with us, wrapping up this Monday edition of The Chase. And John Gruden, the groomers that dominated Tennessee Volunteers message boards for many years ago as well. He talked to Georgia this past week and talked about like the SEC and Georgia being the standard, this, that, and the other. So a lot of Georgia fans got very fired up listening to John Gruden speak to the team last week. And then you have Josh Pate this week talking about why he thinks John Gruden is probably going to be back and be a college football head coach, which he has not done. NFL coach, he obviously was at the Las Vegas Raiders with Mike Mayock. So it kind of makes sense where you have Bill Belichick and Mike Lombardi running UNC. And Mike Lombardi was obviously a Raiders and New England Patriots personnel exec, also GM, I believe, of the Cleveland Browns and a couple other stops, but brings him in as his GM. Mayock, I believe that would make sense if you're going to bring up, he loves scouting, and I feel like that's a natural fit for him with Jim Nagy running things at Oklahoma. Could Gruden run it back at the college level with Mayock? And it's certainly possible. It just, in the new era of college athletics, it shouldn't be all that surprising that John Gruden is popping back in there. He's 61 years old. it is interesting in terms of where he might ultimately land. And you saw the immediate fan base reaction was Arkansas, right? Like that just felt like John Calipari was a big fish, and Arkansas just needs a jolt in the arm, like Arkansas has just not been able to make it. Like Sam Pittman, I think even non-Arkansas fans just like him. He seems like a really nice, genuine dude. We're rooting for him and for it to work out there, but it's not really working out. And it seems like this probably is the last season for Sam Pittman at Arkansas. We'll see. You kind of wondered, is Bobby Petrino going to get another opportunity that he's in year 2? Does he get the job potentially going into next year? Do they just keep that? Jimbo Fisher apparently wants back in as well. Do they jump into the Jimbo Fisher sweepstakes again? I'm just like,
I don't know what's worse, Petrino or Fisher.
Oh, Fisher for sure.
But yeah,
Petrino's still a good offensive coordinator. Like Petrino is still someone who can call a good college football offense. Now, I'm not sure he can run a college football big time program in 2025, but in terms of calling plays,
his image will forever be the neck brace though. His image will forever be just not in a good spot. I think Jimbo Fisher's image is better.
Yeah, it's better, but it's also like it was ugly. Those offenses, and it ended really sad. Like those offenses were, and it was just stubborn to me. You know what I mean? Like he had so much talent at Texas A&M and just did nothing with it. Like it is kind of, I do feel bad for him in one way, where that 2020 team with Kellen Mond and company, that was one of the best 5-6 teams in college football that year. Like that's kind of a forgotten team of the Jimbo era, where he really did break through that year. Like the veteran Kellen Mond, not a great NFL quarterback, obviously. No. Great college quarterback, though, at A&M. And just never got back on the tracks from then on out. Gruden is an ultimate unknown. We're going to see what it looks like with Bill Belichick. Does that change how teams look at John Gruden? Like, if Bill Belichick falls on his face in year 1 at UNC and they go like 3-9, 4-8, and it's just kind of a disaster behind the scenes, does that kind of scare some teams off of going down a Gruden Mayock combo at a big? I just think that's a big jump. It's one thing to go to the ACC, where you can kind of lay in the weeds and hide out, even though Belichick can't really hide out of the gate because TCU is by itself on the TV docket. So all of America will be tuned in for TCU UNC. But I do think that's a big jump up, man. And Arkansas is just a hard job, especially in the modern day SEC with Texas A&M, and Oklahoma in the conference. Like, I don't know if I'm John Gruden, I want that job. It's kind of to me like Kentucky, where, if everyone lets John Summerall, he's the linebackers coach he was the linebacker at Kentucky and now a big-time coach at Tulane. It's like, obviously, you go back home. It's like, it's a terrible job. And if you're spending more on basketball than football, why do I want that job? I'm doomed to fail.
I think Arkansas would be a better landing spot than a Kentucky, though, for football. Arkansas does have the money. I mean, Walmart is one of the big sponsors.
Tyson Food Chicken.
Yeah, Tyson's a big sponsor. John Gruden would put energy in that program. They've had a lack of energy for a while now. And maybe you could go back 4 years ago when KJ Jefferson and company took down Texas.
Yeah.
And that was one of their big wins. There was a little bit of energy there. Sam Pittman is a really nice dude. He's a player's coach. He's well-liked, well-respected, but not a guy that brings energy, I would say, to a program. John Gruden walks into any room. All eyes are on him. No one's saying a word. You're listening because he's a personality. He's must-see, but he knows his stuff. Like, the difference between, and I'm not saying Deion Sanders doesn't know his stuff, because I do think he is a good coach, but like a lot of people view Deion Sanders as a little bit of a personality. Like,
but he also coached ball, man.
Yeah,
like he went to Jackson State. He coached ball,
and that is true. I don't think that Deion Sanders is that way, but the general public, I think, looks at Deion Sanders as a guy that is a little bit more of a personality who had a couple of really good players, by way of the Suns and stuff. But John Gruden is a guy that knows football and has an extensive history in the NFL. I think the difference between him and Belichick, if he falls out at North Carolina, it's like, well, he's clearly on his last leg. And I think everyone understands that. Gruden's got plenty of years ahead of him. He's still got fire. And I just think his end of the track in the NFL is why he's in this current position. The reason why Belichick's in this current position is, well, the Patriots were terrible ever since Tom Brady left.
Where's the best fit? Like, clearly he loves the SEC, and it seems like that's Dino. The one that jumps out to me is Auburn. That is such an Auburn type move to just get that desperate, where the boosters get in, where they're like, yeah, it didn't work out with Hugh Freeze and company. we're going to bring in Mayock and John Gruden. Like, that just feels like an Auburn type move, right? Because I'm looking around, like Oklahoma, if it doesn't go right, does he go with Jim Nagy? Does Jim Nagy bring in Gruden? Is that a combination? I don't know what kind of relationship there is there, but there's not a lot of jobs I'm looking around that are going to, and I just don't think Gruden, even though he is an Ohio guy, it's not far from the border, Kentucky. Is he a sneaky dark horse for Kentucky that we're not thinking about? Like, does he think he can make Kentucky work?
If they're out of Kentucky, Arkansas, Auburn.
Yeah.
I think Arkansas would be the best fit for him.
Interesting. Do y'all agree?
I could see Kentucky, maybe Mississippi State too. Could be another one if Jeff Lebby doesn't work out there.
That's a tough job too, man. Mississippi State is tough.
You'd bring energy to it though.
I just think Mississippi State's one of those schools to me where there's a reason that Dan Mullen and Mike Leach have been the most successful there. It's just, I think you have to be a brilliant offensive mind who can do a lot with less. You know what I mean? You need kind of a gimmicky type. And I don't even like, we're both, William and I are big Dan Mullen guys, and I was a big Mike Leach guy. I think I don't use that disparagingly. I just think that there's certain jobs where I do think you need to think outside the box to be successful. And John Gruden being a pro style guy, I don't think pro style works at Mississippi State. We've seen that Zach Arnett tried to do it under center with the App State coordinator with with Will Rogers, and that just completely imploded. And Zach Arnett got 1 year. Sylvester Croom did not work there. You go through the list, the guys who don't work at Mississippi State are the guys who try and do like a pro style type deal. You got to think outside the box. That's why Jeff Lebby made more sense to me than Zach Arnett and everybody else. Like, I don't know if it's going to ultimately work with Jeff Lebby, but at least he has a gimmicky type of offense where he's an offense first guy, and you'd think theoretically he might be able to carve together something that's a little bit sustainable. But yeah, I don't know. It's a big year for Lebby because they were awful, and they might go like, how many SEC coaches have actually gone 0-16 in their first 2 years in conference play and made it to year 3? Because if you look at their schedule this year, I don't know who the win is. Is it Tennessee? Is that their best shot at home?
No. They play, and this isn't, I mean, Ole Miss is going to be a better team, but it's a rivalry game into the year. They play in Starkville. That's one of those things, like, it's kind of one of those toss-up games. Like, even a couple of years ago, Mississippi State went on the road and beat them. That was Mike Leach's final game.
Right. Well, can I give you the Mississippi State schedule?
Yeah, go ahead.
Conference schedule.
Go ahead.
Well, so their out of conference is brutal. They go play Charles Huff out of the gate at Southern Miss. They get Arizona State at home.
Loss.
Northern Illinois, who beat Notre Dame last year on the road. They get them at home.
I'll give them a win there. What are we, 2-1 right now?
But also Alcorn State.
All right, so 3-1.
3-1. Tennessee at home.
Loss.
At A&M.
Loss.
At Florida.
Loss.
Texas at home.
Loss.
At Arkansas.
That would be their one.
Okay. Georgia.
Loss.
At Mizzou.
Loss.
I mean, loss. I'm trying to think. I'm optimistically here.
I think, can they beat Missouri? But no,
on the road, I don't think so.
Missouri's got a lot of question marks in my opinion, but that's a loss. Missouri's got a better team.
And then Ole Miss at home.
That would be a rivalry game like that is what I could see. Arkansas and Ole Miss, I think there are only two ways.
He might have to get 2 because you go 1-15 in 2 years in SEC play.
But let me ask you this: does anyone in that Mississippi State building actually believe they're going to be a better team than any of those SEC teams on their schedule? Like, is that fair? That's a tough schedule.
I'm just talking about optically. That looks so
it looks
bad.
terrible. It looks terrible. But, I mean, Texas is a much better team. Florida's a much better team. Georgia's a much better team. Like, I get it from an optics perspective. You go 0-16, you're like, man, what are they doing here? But when you look at that schedule, what are they supposed to do? They don't have as talented of a team as a couple of those guys.
Jeff Lebby can't wear jeans on the sidelines anymore. Did you notice he was wearing jeans when he was in town for Mississippi State, Tennessee last year?
Thankfully, I didn't watch much Mississippi State football last season.
Well, I mean, when they played Tennessee on the sidelines, I was like, what is he wearing? And you're going through and it's like, oh, he's wearing jeans. I've never seen a football coach wear jeans on the sidelines, but he was wearing jeans in the Tennessee game last fall.
Wonder if we'll wear jeans to Southern Miss. Some Wranglers possibly.
Well, you know, Southern Miss old coach, Will Hall. He was like the last guy wearing the suit and tie for years. West Georgia legend, Will Hall.
Al Golden did too at Miami.
That's right.
Hold on, I got another one for John Gruden. And this is, let's say, if obviously the team that I'm talking about has their coach for a while, but if he never existed, Ole Miss. Let's say Lane Kiffin is just out of the picture completely. I feel like he would fit at Ole Miss.
An unserious team hires a little bit of a chaotic guy.
Yeah. Like Ole Miss would be the prime school for John Gruden if we just take Lane Kiffin out of the picture.
You know what's funny? is he wants SEC, but John Gruden would be much better served going to the Big Ten with his style. And I think what he wants to build, like he physical, ground and pound, ball control. Like you saw those offenses that he was running with Derek Carr and company. He wants to run the football. He wants to be a defense first mash. Like he wants something that the Big Ten, like he wants Iowa. Like
I'm about to say, you're about to say
he wants Iowa, and I just don't think he's a great fit. I don't think it will work out if he takes an SEC job. I think that's an implosion waiting to happen. Now, if he took let me see, what Big Ten team would be pretty fascinating for John Gruden? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Maryland needs some energy in their program.
I don't like them. You know who it is? Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Wisconsin. I could see a fit or what he wants.
They gave Fickle an extension.
Yeah, that was not great. That one jumps out to me as a possibility. I could see that potentially working. Michigan State, if they make a move, if Jonathan Smith has another bad year, Jay Batt was the one who just came in from Georgia Tech. He didn't hire Jonathan Smith, so his AD's not there. That would be one. But Wisconsin, like, doesn't John Gruden just feel like Wisconsin football to me in the ground of it? Like how he would embrace that era and the craziness and just I don't know. I could see him adapting well for what they want to do with Wisconsin.
If Lincoln Riley doesn't work out, USC.
No, USC's got to be fun. John Gruden's not fun. USC's best versions are fun. You got to have fun quarterback play.
Are they having fun right now?
They have the #1 recruiting class. They have Chad Bowden GMing. They steal him away. It seems like their NIL's in order. I think they lost to Michigan and Penn State by 3 points apiece. They were right there with Notre Dame last year. They threw 2 100-yard pick sixes to make that game, to lose that game, but they're right there with the runner-up. USC's good. Like they're going to be a 9-3 type team, and they're building something big. I think USC is going to be one of the premier programs in college football in the next 2 to 3 years.
I like Maeva, who came over from UNLV. I thought he should have been the starter last year. I was never a Miller Moss guy, but this guy had the #1 pick for 2 years and did nothing.
I mean, I'm just saying, Hassan Longstreet coming in, 5-star quarterback. He'll be a true freshman here. But D'Anton Lynn was a great hire. The Lincoln Riley heir was he hired Alex Grinch with him. And it did not work.
All defense with Caleb Williams. That was not his fault.
I used to have a saying, the Grinch that stole USC's season.
That's what I'm saying. So he just hired wrong. Like if he had hired D'Anton Lynn from the start, I think they're okay. Like they went from 119th to 77th, I believe, in total defense in D'Anton Lynn's first year. I think they're trending in the right direction. Buy USC stock. I think USC is going to be good. Well, that'll do it for this edition of The Chase right here on Fan Run Fox Sports Knoxville. Thank you to William Pattison. Thank you to Jay King. Thank you to Matt Bailey. The Drive with Russell Smith and the Bear up next. Overtime with William Pattison up 6 to 8. We're back tomorrow. Ryan Sylvia of Rocky Top Insider in studio at 1 o'clock. Have a wonderful afternoon, East Tennessee.
Chase on Fox Sports Knoxville and Fan Run Radio. Heck yeah.